The final boss character definitely brings up a very good point, and it really had me thinking. When a character is in a story, like in a piece of writing, for instance, usually they're bound by the laws of that writing, and bound by the laws of the writer, or restricted by the writer, so to say. For instance, a character that is amazing, like, let's take example, Guts from Berserk. An amazing character, and actually the entire cast of Berserk is amazing. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, when it comes to the actual world and how it is, it's all dictated by the writer, Kentaro. He is the one that bounds their fate to a certain past. For instance, they can't break their normal structured character that we see in writing. And this can go for any character in any form of literature. And that's kind of what our final boss character was letting us know, is that now that they are free, for instance, they have came to our world, they are no longer in their world, they're no longer bound by the laws of their writer, they can be who they want to be, hidden parts of their characters have finally started to take shape. For instance, let's say Guts, he's bound by certain things because of his objective. He has to do certain things because that's where Kentaro wants to take him. Basically, he's not able to showcase these other hidden sides to him. That's always been there, but he's not able to really go with that side of him because of the way the writer uses the character. And in this case, that's what he was trying to say. Now that they're in our world, they're able to do things that we never would have saw or thought about them doing in the first place. And that's kind of what he's saying. He was hinting at the entire fact that all of the characters that are coming into our world, they have lost their objective. They have lost their purpose. They have had their strings completely cut. Because when you look at these stories, when you look at many different characters from many different franchises and stuff like that, they all are basically puppets in the grand scheme of things. They are. They're basically the writer's puppets. He's able to say his story with these characters, and he manipulates their actions through destiny and fate. That's basically how it is, because it's fated for these characters to wind up in whatever happens at the end of the story, because that's what the writer wanted in the first place. So when you look at it like that, these characters that are now disconnected from that law, disconnected from their creator, they're no longer a puppet, they're able to express themselves that they never thought was actually possible, which is what is going on. For instance, Mamika in this episode, how she is going through a lot of development, to our final boss character that is showcasing sides of him that he probably never would have showed in, his series, because he even states in the way he hints at was that towards the end of his series, he most likely was a good guy. It just, because of his actions and all that, it just looked like he was evil, and these hidden things, a part of his character, are finally coming out. He's not just a stereotypical final villain. He's not a cool guy just to be a cool guy. The way his character is written may have been like that, but he's no longer like that. Hidden parts of him are coming out, which makes this for a very fascinating series, and I really love how self-aware Recreators is when it comes to its characters and all these different character tropes and stuff that you see constantly in many different series. For instance, let's take Mamika for a second, Madoka. Mamika has went through some shocking development. Like, the development Mamika has gotten is probably the most development any other character has gotten in this series, which is surprising, because who would have thought that a magical girl would have had the most development out of all of these other characters in this series? Now, that doesn't mean that it's bad, for instance, these other characters not getting development. I think the reason why that Mamika has developed so much is because of what she's from, what world she came from. I mean, think about it like this, okay? Let's just say, hypothetically, this is really happening, okay? If a person came from a world that was meant for children, kids to consume and just see, like, see this entire show for children, nobody really dies, there's no blood or violence and stuff, you see fights and stuff, but there's not much violence at all, obviously that world isn't as bad as ours. And when someone comes from that world into our world, they're obviously going to realize that our world is harsh. It's very cruel. It's messed up. But at the same time, though, these characters that came from that world, they're going to keep certain parts of their personality. They're going to keep the personality or part of themselves to where they want to understand both sides. That's how a lot of magical girl characters are. They want to understand what is really happening, and they want to talk with a said individual on both sides. And so that's kind of what Mamika wants to do. And because of this, her entire character type and what she is, it's allowing her to mature at a faster rate than normal characters. Because if this was a regular seinen character thrown into our world, obviously they're used to this shit. They're used to the cruelty of man. They're used to the world just being unfair and evil. They're used to that. That's not something that's going to radically change them like that. But someone like Mamika that is from a children's show, she's obviously going to go through a major shift. It's like throwing in like a regular shonen character that's meant for children into a seinen, like Berserk, for instance. That's basically what that is. And so she is developing, she is learning, and she is tackling things in a very mature way. In some cases, naive, but she is tackling it in a way that is very mature and fits with her character. She's staying in line with her character, but she is doing things in a way that just makes sense. I mean, her confronting Sota, like, you know, wanting to know about the military princess, the identity of the military princess, about the side that he's working with. She wants to understand her enemy. That's what she wants, and she's not necessarily going out of her way to attack him. She just wants to know, and I like that about her character, and how she's being very mature about this, and how she's not resorting to violence or anything like that. She just wants to talk, which, like I said, fits with her character, but then goes along with the lines of what our final boss character said, of how now they're not bound by the restrictions of their world. They realize what can happen, what they're probably capable of. For instance, Monica, she realizes the dangers of her ability. She realizes that she could kill people like that. She's probably one of the most dangerous characters, probably because of that ability that keeps getting hyped up, like magical splash flare or something like that. Basically, that ability keeps being brought up, and everybody seems to know it on her side, and they know how powerful that is, which just shows that she's not someone you want to mess with. And when you think of magical girls, some magical girls in series do have some very powerful abilities. Oh yes, I mean, let's think about Madoka Magica for a second. Madoka, she has a powerful ability. She has a couple of powerful abilities. A couple of characters in that series have some powerful abilities. So when you think of the grand scheme of things, she is very powerful. She could easily kill a lot of people, and like I said, she's aware of this, and that's the change in her character, how she is shifting, how she is maturing. She's realizing the consequences of her power, and how she shouldn't just use it like that, like out of nowhere, which, like I said, shows development, and I really appreciate that. Now, getting off of that, though, let's talk about the fight scene and how it kind of concluded in the first place. So, basically, our Shinji character pops up in a robot. He's like, hey guys, what's going on? And then Blitz and then Alice just completely book it. They get the hell out. They're like, nope, I'm done. Like they note the hell out of there, because they didn't want to deal with that giant robot, which is pretty funny when you think about it, because, I mean, Blitz, he has gravity bullets and stuff, which we've seen. He has some pretty advanced technology. Alice has this magical horse and all that. She has, you know, this strength like a typical knight. I highly doubt these two probably could go up against a mech. So seeing this, you know, Shinji-like character pop down and all that, and about to, you know, go ham, it's very funny because it kind of establishes the fact that they don't want to mess with a robot. They don't want to mess with this giant robot that would just probably obliterate most of them. The only one I could probably see that could possibly stand up to a giant robot, depending on the capabilities of this robot, of course, is probably Meteora. Probably the final boss, and then Mamika. Most likely, those characters probably could stand up. And most likely the military princess as well. That really depends on the power that she has. So, when you look at it like that, it's just, I found it very funny how the villagers are just like, nope, I'm out of here. And they just ran away as soon as they saw him jump in. Like, that's enough for today. Let's have enough fighting. And they just got the hell out of there. So, besides those characters, though, I do want to mention that I like our final boss's characters like that. The Persona, it's more of a Persona reference, apparently. Many were telling me that it was basically Persona, but I still think it's a stand. Like a stand of power. That's what I think it is when I see a person have, like, this figure they can control outside of their body. That's just how it is. I mean, I watch enough JoJo, and I think everything's like a stand when I see something like that. So, when he's using his ability, apparently he can control his ability separate from himself. Like, usually when someone has, like, a stand ability, usually they're the ones sitting back and all that, while their stand is fighting for them. Just, you know, doing, oh, no, 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 you know, stuff like that. And he wasn't doing that. He actually was having his own individual fight, while his stand ability was doing its own thing as well. So, I don't know if he was actually controlling it, or if it has its own will and mind of its own. Now, it wasn't necessarily clarified in the fight, but he was able to fight separately from his stand ability. So that was really cool seeing that and how he has that type of ability. Now, speaking of the other character, I think her name is Magane, or however you pronounce her name, you know, the one with the sharp teeth and stuff. Magane, I like her character. I mean, even though we haven't seen a whole lot from her, I like how her character is, because she's that type of character that's on nobody's side. And it's like the exact opposite of Mamika. Even though Mamika is, as we can see, becoming more of a neutral type character because she wants to understand both sides, we also have this character, Magane, that is on the neutral side, but she's on no one's side, and she doesn't want to be on anyone's side, because she's just that type of character. How, you know, she's just toying with people, wanting to kill people, and how she just has to do her own purpose in life, what she wants to find, which is, once again, that we found out in this episode, all of these characters that are brought to our world lost their purpose. They no longer have the same goal that they once had. They've lost that, and so they obviously need to find out what they want to do, what they need to, you know, achieve. And so with her now being in our world, obviously she can't probably do the exact same things she wanted to accomplish, and so she has to do something different, which you see how she reacts to that in this episode. So, even though she's evil, and she's a typical character that's just there to be, like, chaotic, I do like her. I like her character, I want more of her, and I'd like to see what type of development she will go through throughout this series. Now, let's get into Sota for a second, okay? So, Sota, I wanted to be lenient with that character, Sota. I really did. But after seeing how much he is fucking up in every single episode, I just can't stand it. Like, I really cannot stand Sota at all. Like, his character, honestly, he is just there to be an asshole and to slow down the plot. It really, that's the whole purpose of Sota's character. He could easily have told his teammates about who the military princess was. He didn't. He didn't. He withheld that information. I was hoping that the screen cut away or whatever and you actually told someone, but no, that didn't happen. He didn't tell anyone. He told no one who the military princess was and how he was connected to her and how he basically was her creator. He doesn't say that to anyone, which really fired me up. I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, are you freaking serious? Like, the way you're acting is so illogical. It makes no sense. Yes, I know most likely the reason why that character was written because it has a deep wound in his heart because it's connected to the person that killed herself, but it still doesn't change the fact that you're just withholding information just to be a dick. That's basically it. You can save a lot of people, help a lot of people, but you're not doing so because you just want to slow down the plot. That's the whole purpose of his character at the moment, is to slow down the plot, and him just to not say anything. Like, his entire actions make no sense. All these other characters in the series that are, you know, actually acting like how they should if they were brought into our world, the character that was already in our world to begin with is acting so out of character, out of line, it just doesn't make sense. So, hopefully Sota, something happens with Sota, I really do, because honestly, I'm not liking him too much. I'm really not liking him because of how he keeps acting. He's just really fucking annoying. He is, because it's not the fact that he's not even there usually half the time because he's like a narrator type character. It's the fact that when he does have vital information, he doesn't say anything, which, like I said, makes no sense. He should say something, but he doesn't. Because the only purpose I can see him not saying anything is, like I said, to slow down the plot, which that's the only negative I really have about the series thus far. So anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this week's episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below. Love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.